Okay, chapter 13, climate change policy. Now, we're going to be asking three main questions in this chapter. One, how has society dealt with pollutions in the past? Mainly, what are the motivations and the results of society dealing with environmental issues? Second, what are the unique challenges to combating greenhouse gas versus other air pollutions? And what we want to focus on there is can the success in the past be applied to greenhouse gas? And if not, why not? And third, what are the most efficient policies then to combat climate change, right? If the other policies that we have used in the past to deal with other environmental issues, if they don't really work with greenhouse gas, then what are the most efficient policies? So overall, we have been really successful at dealing with air pollutions, and not just air pollution, but other environmental qualities, environmental issues, starting from the 70s. So in 1970, right, U.S. EPA passed the Clean Air Act. So this is a major milestone, and this really is a big turning point in environmental qualities here in the United States. But this is not just a U.S. only phenomenon, right? Every developed country, maybe not all in the 70s, but at some point or another, they have changed gear and really turn the environmental issues or really turn around the environmental issues. Right. So here, there, for example, a side-by-side picture, right? In the 1970s, this is what you can expect on a typical day. These are just a smog from air pollution, right? People and it's an extremely harmful health hazard. People have a really hard time breathing, right? Versus what you see here today, right? And now New York City, of course, there's still issues. We can still get better, but we can't we have to kind of look at how far have we come, right? A couple more pictures here. This is Houston, Texas, right? Burning of auto batteries, right? Again, just spewing. This is before the Clean Air Act enforce sulfur dioxide emissions from these factories. Right? Here's another picture here. This picture is supposed to be a sunny day, right? There was no cloud, and yet this is kind of the hazy kind of the smog that permeates in the neighborhood here. Again here, Cleveland, Ohio, and so this is the idea. Right? This is back in the 70s. This is this is the condition, right, in most major cities. Now, so what happened, right? We've cleaned all that up. Here's another picture. Here's another graph to kind of look at. Even from the 1990s, we have continued to make tremendous progress in terms of cleaning up our air pollution. Right. So here is the national standard here at the 0%, and we have achieved far beyond the national standard. Okay. And not only that, and I think this is an important part here. Not only have we reduced emission, but at the same time, right, from 1970 until today, we have continued to grow our economy. Right, living standards have gone up, poverty gone down, and the wealth of the economy, the standard of living, right, has dramatically increased. And the reduction in emission didn't really cost the economy. Right? So here's an estimate from the Clean Air Act. For every dollar spent on reducing emission, right, we resulted in $9 of total $9 of benefit. So if we can improve our environment and grow the economy, why did we pollute the environment for so long? Right? What took so long for us to change our behavior? Right? Because this is a win-win. Right? The trade-off, right, that we've been told about how you have to trade off between the economy and the environment, that's not necessarily true, right? And here is a big evidence, a big supporting evidence to contradict that old narrative. Right? Now, so, environmental economists offers an explanation. We call it the Kuznets hypothesis. Right? Now, by the way, if you Google Kuznets curve or if you Google Kuznets hypothesis, 8 out of 10, what the result you will find is the Kuznets curve on inequality, income inequality. We are borrowing the same concept and we're using the Kuznets hypothesis to explain this turning point in environmental quality versus economic growth. Okay. All right. Now, what is the environmental Kuznets curve? It says as economy growth proceed, certain type of pollution problem they first get worse and then they get better. Okay, so here's what you'll see typically in the Kuznets curve. On the bottom, you have stages of economic development, and that's typically measured in income per capita. So individual wealth, which is a good proxy and a good approximation on an individual's standard of living, and then environmental degradation, right? And so we can break this up into three stages. So first, pre-industrial economy. So this is what most developing countries are going through, and we see that this is the old story where we are increasing our income, increasing our wealth, but at the same time we have to degrade the environment as a trade-off. So pollution increases. Now we reach the next industrial economy where there is a turning point. Okay, and so this is where income continue to grow, but yet the environmental degradation, pollution decreases. And finally, we get to the post-industrial economy, the service economy, right? And this is kind of where most OECD countries are. Right? For most of you in college right now, right? You are studying an advanced degree to join the part of the service economy, right? And here we can continue to grow our wealth, continue to improve our standard of living, while at the same time reducing the environmental degradation, reducing the pollution. Okay, so that's the hypothesis. Okay, now let's look at some evidence to see if we can support this hypothesis. So first, let's look at air pollution in London. Okay, now on the bottom here, this is time. This is not income per capita. This is not wealth on the horizontal axis. However, over this period of time, GDP or income per capita has increased. It's been a steady increase, even exponentially. Okay, so we can use time here, and the wealth has increased over this entire time. And what do we see? We see that as wealth increase, as time passes, society develop, right? Air pollution continue to increase, and we see this peak, this turning point here at near the at the beginning of the 1900s, where we see the peak, this turning point, and then pollution drops down pretty dramatically, right? And now today, London, right, compared to what it was, 400, three 300 years ago, right? It's a massive improvement, right? By the way, I just want to put a side note. Just notice this little jerk, this dip here, and then increase here. This is the World War II, right? And I just thought this is kind of interesting to point out and put things in perspective. As destructive and massive the war campaign was, right? Overall, it didn't really affect the trend. Of progress in reducing air pollution, right? So I thought that was pretty fascinating. Just by comparison, we can look at Delhi today, and Delhi today, their air pollution level, right, is at is the same as London, back in the 1900s here. And well, we can also right now Delhi, their air pollution is still increasing, so we can maybe compare a more comparable Delhi to the maybe the 1820s, all right, of London of yesterday, all right, and then we can expect Delhi to continue to increase their air pollution, but then at some turning point will improve better. Okay, let's look at another graph here. All right, this is not time. Now this is looking at income per capita. So this is wealth, and this is a snapshot. So it's not across time. This is looking at different society, different economies around the world, and we really see the Kuznets hypothesis played out here. That in low income economies, right? At low income economies, as the income increases, we see that the sulfur dioxide per capita, so pollution. By the way, sulfur dioxide is a byproduct of processing coal and many factory many factory industrial is a major industrial pollution, and so we see that air pollution increases, but then the turning point happens pretty quickly here, and we see that as the wealth continue to grow in these economies, the sulfur dioxide continue to decrease. Okay, now what is the explanation here? What is the motivation? Right? Why isn't the question I'm asking is, why isn't this line just going straight up? Why isn't this a linear line just keep going forward? Like, what is the motivation for society to reduce emission, right? Because remember, the reason why these pollution are increasing in the first place is because to gain more wealth. So, well, as wealth increases, why doesn't pollution continue to grow? Okay, so the environmental economists, our explanation to this is that most people view environmental quality as a normal good or even a luxury good. Okay, so we need to do a little bit of a micro econ here to talk about what exactly does that mean. So we're going to introduce an index called income elasticity. Okay, so this is the percent change in quantity demanded relative to a percent change increase in income. What does that mean? This is the measure that as your income increases, do you demand more? And if you demand more, how much more or less of a good? So we're going to say consumers have an income elasticity placed on every good. Right? And if now if a good is normal by definition, we can define it as, in terms of income elasticity, that the income elasticity is between 0 and 1. So income elasticity is positive, but is less than 1. That means if your income increased by 1%, your quantity demanded increased by less than 1%. Okay, so slightly less. Most of the household goods that we consume on a daily basis, we will categorize that as a normal good, right? If you're drinking coffee, right, if you drink coffee every day and your income goes up, you might buy a little bit more. But of course, if your income, let's say that your income doubles, right, you're not going to consume double the amount of coffee. Right. Now, what about luxury goods? So luxury goods are things where income elasticity is greater than 1. So that means if disproportionately, if your income increased by 1%, your quantity demanded increased by more than 1%. Now, why is this? So why are luxury goods? Why do luxury goods have an income elasticity of greater than 1? Let's say, for example, vacation, right, or cruise trips, right, or cruise ships, right? Before, when when you have a low income, right, you're spending your money on food, housing, clothing, healthcare, and etc. Right? You don't have a lot of money to spend on these luxury items. However, as your income reaches a certain level, you have all those necessities covered. So now what do you do with the extra money? Well, with the extra income, right, then you purchase a vacation package. So you went from 0 vacation time to maybe 2 weeks vacation time in that year. So because the change is so dramatic, we can see that in terms of your income elasticity, you went from almost 0 to greater to an increase of 200% or so. Right? So that's what we call luxury good. Okay. By the way, there is a third category called inferior good. Right? So that means as your income increases, your quantity demanded decreases. Okay. So income elasticity is negative, and typically we as an example, right? These are cheap pizza, right? Little Caesars. Right? When you're a poor college student, you eat a lot of Little Caesars. However, as your money increases and your income increases, you consume less Little Caesars. Little Caesars. We typically say for things like spam, bologna, or even chicken. Like chicken is an inferior good because as your income increases, you eat less chicken and you switch in your diet to let's say more expensive exotic, well, not exotic, but more expensive beef. Like meat, as beef. Okay. Anyway, we won't talk about inferior good that much here. But what the explanation that environmental economists offer is that environmental quality is viewed either as a normal good, right, or even a luxury good for most people, right? Here we can see here, society, individuals in society in the first half here, they're busy, they're busy having food security, housing security, and health, and getting their kids to college and having an opportunity. Now, once they have all the necessities taken care of, people then begin to demand environmental quality. And we can observe this on the macro level. We see that as people want to go to the middle class and upper middle class, they tend to move out of the city and then move into suburbs, right? Why? Because there is it's quieter, right? It's cleaner, the air is cleaner, less traffic jam, closer to nature, right? These kind of things, and people, people consume, right? People go, and so people does start to demand more national parks, state parks, again as their income increases. Okay, and so what does this tell us? This tells us that things might look bad, but every society at some point is going to have this turning point, and they can continue to grow wealth, but their environmental quality are starting to improve naturally. And so, if greenhouse gas follow this, right, follow this trend, then we can say, well, maybe we don't have too much to worry about. Maybe in the future, right, greenhouse gas can just will just follow down, come down as well. Now, this we observe environmental Kuznets hypothesis to be true for most other air pollutions, and also not just air pollution, but water quality, right, deforestation, and such. Right, and so the question is, right, is this true for greenhouse gas?